All right, I've gotten word that that's everybody on the radar, so I think I'm gonna try and get us all going here. Let's see if I can find myself. Wow, that's existential, isn't it?
Hmm.
All right, well, welcome everybody. It's so great to see so many people here. All these great Safari people that we have been with for so many years. Thirza has gathered us here today for a special safari for our good friend and safari regular Mal Burns. As you can see around us, we have posters of thoughts from a variety of people. And so if you have time and can take a moment to read them, we have some really great reflections already just scattered around the area. And then during our first hour today, we have a list of people who are scheduled to speak using Inworld voice. And so we ask that you keep your microphones muted so we can hear everybody. And then our second hour will be a musical performance by Safari favorite Wallum Wubbit. So I think I will kick things off with my own little bit of reflection. And Mal is probably one of the most frequent people to join the Safari tours since the very beginning. In the last few years of his YouTube show, The Inworld Review, Mal had been recording a video of upcoming safari destinations. Just as a side note, he preferred to use the alt-click method of operating the camera, and so it frequently put the inside of the camera inside a wall or inside a hillside. And if you've ever spent much time camming with the alt-click method, you know just how often that happens. So I worked with Mal on many projects for the last 10 years. I first volunteered to stream for Mal on the Inworld Review when Petlove Petshop announced she was leaving. I'm standing right in front of Petlove's quotes here on the board. Before that, I'd done streaming for Second Life with Mal on projects like VWBPE and the OSCC conference and Open Simulator. But more than being a streamer, Mal encouraged me to also be on camera and even chime in with reactions during the shows. At one point, we started a second program called MBTV News, where we chatted about technology and virtual worlds. It was a bit of a stretch for me, but I think it was the educator instinct in Mal that pushed me in different directions. And I do think that Mal very much considered himself an educator. He did teach classes in the real world, such as how to use Photoshop. And in his YouTube programs, he was always very deliberate to provide background and context to everything he reported. He actually did this to the point of spelling out web addresses as he mentioned them in his program. So he was always there with the educational information. As Mal grew older, it became clear that he had a mission to share the excitement he felt for virtual worlds. And I see this as a natural path from his days of music and comic book production. He really lived the idea of build your own reality, and we can see that from this lovely build he made here on Craft World Grid. If you have time, it's a great place to explore and find the little meaningful things he sprinkled in with the land, structures, plants, and animals. I really can't express how much I miss Mal, as he was both a guide and an inspiration to me. And I think I'm going to keep my comments at that. It's hard to express anything much more than I miss him, and I'll keep doing things in his memory and with his inspiration. Another classic thing is when he streamed, he did not want to see the interface or name tags and things like that. So as I'm streaming today, I'm trying to respect that, except for the chat. I want to see our chat on the left, so that's what I'm doing. Well, everyone, thank you all for being here. This is a great turnout of Safari to help us celebrate Mal. And now I'd like to introduce Karima Hoisan to speak. And Karima, Mal really enjoyed your poetry and videos. He often played them on his shows, and I'm so glad you can be here to share your reflections today. And then when you finish, please introduce Nara Malone. So take it away, Karima.
Okay, thank you. Can you all hear me okay?
I hear you great.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I'm so honored to be invited here to speak at our dear friend Mal Burns' memorial. Just to let you know, for those that don't know me, I'm sure you all know yourselves, but that don't know me, I've been in the virtual now for a long time, since 2007, and in OpenSim, I started in Second Life, and then OpenSim in Kitely since 2011, where I went crazy and built 20 worlds that are now open to all hypergridders to come visit. And the Hypergrid Safari has been one of our greatest group of visitors, and maybe the most fun. Mal always was part of those visits, and they're really memorial to me, very, very special to me. So I want to invite you all who have never come to visit one of my worlds. I'm listed in Kitely under worlds, and please do, okay? But I want to say a few words about Mal, and then I want to say a few pieces of poetry, because Mal actually was an admirer of my poetry. He really kind of gave me impetus to give more readings, and yeah, he was really very, very positive about my poetry. So, but I want to say that when a legend dies, more than just the family or his close friends feel the loss, in the virtual world, it's exactly the same, okay? Those of us who live here and create here, make friends and form communities, have laughed and cried and danced and loved someone from the other side of the world without ever seeing them or touching them. We might not have ever heard them speak. But when that person no longer logs in, when we never see their name light up on our friends list ever again, we feel it. We feel it deeply. And Mal Burns was a virtual legend. There's no doubt about it. Look at the group of people that are here today to honor him. I can't speak for his life in the real world. I knew that he was involved in comics and art, but he touched mine so much in the virtual. And first, Second Life, and then in OpenSim. I want to tell you something. I came into the virtual world after a very traumatic time in my real life in 2007. I came in after an abusive marriage, and my healing and recovery I owe to the virtual world. And that time, Second Life, I don't think my story is in any way unique. I'm sure there's people here that have also recovered within virtuality. I feel that many of us did this in many different ways, and we thrived and we stayed. And the reason, or the actual, the proof that we're still here says so much. Mal loved the virtual world. It was his love. And so I'm going to read now a poem called Mutant Bevy, and in the end I think you'll see why. Please lift your foot from my caterpillar. It is squished enough. One more step, it's gone. If you leave it be, perhaps there is some hope that something good will come from all this wrong. I think she will retain sufficient movement, could crawl to a dark corner, weave a safety net. Inside her bright cocoon of metamorphosis, there is a rebirth planned. Oh no, she's not done yet. And then with time, yes, time is so important, her re-entrance could be especially refined. So when her wings are drying as she's hanging there, perhaps her mottled beauty will be a rainbow for mankind. All that pain was sculpted, made her a cosmic changeling. She can sing the haunting song of a robin on Easter morn, flicks and tickles the elderly's cheeks and makes them smile, alights on an open book of a child whose heart is torn, brings joy and awe, for her strange colors are infectious. Even warring factions stop to watch as she flies by. She recites poetry in every tongue and makes no judgment, will be there in the speed of light if she hears you cry. I think she's heard enough now. Now she has compassion. I know that is the way you like to test and mold. Just release her from your step, and she will do the rest. At the hour, place in her path a mutant bevy, and behold. And the virtual world was placed in my path, and you're all part of my mutant bevy. I'm really happy to be here and to have stayed here for so many years. I wanted to say also that Mal came into my life. He also, I think in 2014, he invited Natasha and I to his Inworld show in Second Life. And that was kind of exciting for us. First time we'd been on a show, and the first time I got to really meet him. But actually, he came into my life a few years earlier in 2011. He was watching my badly made machinimas. They were full of passion and intent. I actually went out and made a 13 episode series of machinima. I didn't even know what I was doing. I held the camera horribly. But anyway, he contacted me and he invited me to, and I invited him to a poetry reading. And he really liked my machinima. Every single week he'd say, oh, I like this chapter, I like that chapter. And I adored him right from the start. Mal's quick British humor, which I love, his fabulous accent, his understated, short, but many times hilarious retorts, and his seemingly endless knowledge about anything and everything he found interesting. Unbelievable. I bet Mal's IQ soared in the highest realms. He himself was an artist, and he appreciated art of all kinds from the inside out. He was one of those, to know him was to love him kind of people. So I'm going to read another poem about love called Typecast by Love. This is my story, kind of in the virtual world and in the real world. That's how I did it. Typecast by love. Even the bad tastes good in my history when I turn back the pages. And yes, it was all about love, all about the many ways and forms I was molded and shaped by love, by the sleepless nights of loving and hoping to be loved. A longer life than I sometimes admit to. My director chose the most wonderful parts, and I accepted every one because, well, I knew I did not write the play. Still, I had themes made just for me, amazing roles, and I learned the inside out of love and loss. I was typecast by love, and I didn't care. Love, lack of love, more love than I knew what to do with. I was up for each role, even trying to stay within the rules. I learned to love the loveless because I always could see inside. I made strange choices that in the end turned out just fine. When love is the compass, the North Star, there's little danger of not getting to where you're going. I never noticed details that might impede. On the contrary, I embraced each new script of love with a seasoned actor's security. Out of the corner of my eye, watching for the director's nod, and then I'd throw my whole self into the role. It's time to say thank you as my large reel is winding down. Grateful for every walk-on, for every starring role. I'll keep that sign out in front saying free to be in the next production. Open for love in your upcoming show, but I only work for the best. And I think Mal is definitely one of the best for sure. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I want to just finish by saying that, as I said, the Safari came and visited many of our worlds. And when they came to visit the AI Dreams and Art, Thirza and Mal came ahead of time just so that, Mal could see the whole sim before we did show. And so the AI Dreams and Art is built by Dale Innes, my partner, and myself a few years back. And so he took the whole tour, Mal did, but he fell in love with the psychedelic art exhibit set in a rural hippie camp complete with bonfires, fireworks, and old VW buses. I mean, he was a hippie at heart, totally a hippie. He invited us to his show to talk about the world, and especially that exhibit which captured his heart. In honor of that moment in time, the 1960s that he so loved, I will read you a poem from the point of view of a child growing up in that hippie era. Before I came out, quote unquote, about how old I really was, I'm 78 by the way, I used to say I was the daughter in this poem, but a few years ago I started admitting my real age, and I am actually the mother in the poem. So this will be my last poem that I'll read for you, and it's called I Was the Child of a Flower Child. I dedicate this to the spirit of Mal in the 1960s. The age of Aquarius was awaited like Christmas. I was named after rainbows, stained glass, and rhyming dreams. I had 2 parents, and I had 20 aunts who dressed as fairies, and they and my uncles had open third eyes. All their kids were a pile of siblings. We were one big family for a long, long time. One pair of going-to-town shoes, and mostly I went barefoot. Shirtless at 6, unconsciously innocent, and I was a believer of everything magical, everything bright and pleasing, and every single story my daddy told I know and knew because I knew they were 100% true. Wind chimes were my lullabies. I read book and book by candlelight, and after And even though sometimes I cried, like when bad things happened, like when my bunny C-sharp died, I still looked up to the zillion stars lighting up the whole wide sky and said out loud like I was taught, "Thank you for this day. How good it is to be alive. And thank you for bringing Mal Burns into all of our lives." And thank you, Thirza, for inviting me to say a few words. Thank you. Okay. Now, I think Nara Malone, Nara Nook, is going to be following. So please, hugs,
Wonderful,
Thirza.
Karima.
Yeah, so please get ready, Nara.
Okay,
And
I'm ready.
okay,
Everybody
you ready?
hear me
Okay,
okay?
bye. I'm off. Bye-bye. Thank you all. Thank you.
Yes, you sound great.
Okay. So I just wrote a little narrative poem for Mal. It's called News Update for Mal, Open Sends, Anchorman, and Oak King. The leaves started turning early this year, not just the poplars. They always go early. But the huckleberries were going to maroon within a couple weeks of you leaving, and the maples right after. By Labor Day, even your oaks, stubborn and always holding out to the last, started shifting to gold. You missed Jimmy Olsen's release of the Open Sim weather system. I know you would have loved filling your news studio with snow or rain or fog or whatever the UK weather was each day. You missed the news that there are nearly 1 million Open Sim regions now. This fall, the fall season of Safari launched. You missed Forest Maze Game, the cozy library with a hidden room at Washago, touring the Lofton Islands, flying in a Viking longboat over Norge, the erotic art galleries at Eros, the pirate ship that fired on us and our narrow escape at Kinky Haven, Jerry's desolate expanse. We were all feeling a little bit desolate. Most of us missed the trip to the Red Square. What we all missed was that guy in the cowboy hat that would follow along behind us filming our adventures. I don't know how we do this without you now. OSCC has put out a call for project proposals. I met you when I did my first presentation at OSCC more than a decade ago. My last big OSCC project was a retelling of the Yule Tale using NPCs for everything. The story had two main characters. There was the Oak King, who represented the light, the seasons of light and activity, an extrovert, and the Holly King, who represented the dark, the time for craft and contemplation, an introvert. You agreed to be the voice of the Oak King, but you wanted to use a voice filter to sound better. You, with a unique style and cheerful cadence that stood out in the monochrome streams of hundreds of internet influencers. You are the Oak King. You'd shine your light on curmudgeonly creators, teasing the introverts from their caves and castles, plunking them down for a chat in front of your cameras. You lived that role. You made their voices heard. You gave us all a voice now. We loved your voice. No way we wanted you filtering your voice. You were the embodiment of that keeper of the light. I don't know how we do this without you now. It's October now. And just like they did in our play, the oaks have turned out scarlet and gold, tossing a shower of color into each gust of wind to honor you. Your path has so many holes. Open Sim feels like a moth-eaten sweater. We'll patch it together. We'll build regions and write and make music. We'll have adventures, and we'll learn to be a voice for each other. It won't be near as easy as you made it look, but we'll learn to be the light for each other, because that is how we honor you. Thank you.
Hello, this is Lyr. It's so wonderful to be with you all today, even for this sad, sad moment. I have just a few remarks. I'm also going to paste them into the chat. Dear friends, I've known Mal Burns for 18 years, from his early days in SL. His enthusiasm and passion for comics and for virtual worlds made our world come to life. And no matter where I went, there was Mal. He would holler, "Lyr!" And it didn't make a difference what world it was. It could be OpenSim, could be Second Life, could be Sine Wave, dozens of worlds, and there was Mal. Do you know, today, each of you are here today to share your passion for creativity in ways that are quite magical, and you make this world vibrant. As we carry our loved ones, carry Mal, and the many folks that we've lost here from these worlds, we remember their stories and how they touched our lives. I'd like to mention just a few of them very quickly before I pass the mic. We are thankful to have known the dear friends we've lost, and we always treasure Mal Burns, his Tara, Veritas, Lumiere Noire, Delightful Duangle, Olive Tree Lighthouse, LV, and the countless friends who are no longer with us, yet they dwell deep inside our hearts. You know, the magic of virtual worlds is not that it's real or not real, but that it helps us to remain connected, ever present, even when we are silent and dream no more. I want to say many thanks to Thirza and to James for putting this together and giving us this opportunity to share this joy. You've all brought joy to my life, and I want to thank you for this tribute to the magnificent Mal, to the beautiful poems and the wonderful thoughts you are sharing today. And in closing, I'd like to make a toast. W.H. Auden is one of my favorite poets, and I'm going to use a line from Out of Africa, to rose-lipped maidens, to lightfoot lads. And I invite you to raise a glass in a salute to Mal. Thank you all for coming. This is Lyr signing off, and I'd like to introduce Taarna Welles.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, I hear you well.
Okay, thank you. I think I met Mal in 2017, and that was because of Mariah Korolov. She wrote an article about me with the questions, is Taarna Welles the new Linda Kelly? And Mel, well, he was very interested from who is Taarna and what is she doing. So he asked me for an interview, and Mariah Korolov was there too. And we spoke about my work, what I did, and what my passion was, and why I created clothing or shoes. And if I was the new Linda Kelly. And I said, well, I don't think so. So that's a little bit how I met Mel. And what I like about Mel was actually his appearance. It was so old-fashioned for me. It was like he was walking straight out as a character from The Simpsons. And I asked him, well, why do you not change your outfit? And he didn't want it. He liked it, well, what it was. And well, after a few years later, I think he changed a bit. I think it's something with the hat and maybe some shoes. And well, that's what it was. And finally, he changed his whole outfit. And maybe that's what Mel is. I don't know. And well, I think this is what I would like to share with you about him. So I would like to introduce Cataplexia Numbers.
Thank you so much. And I love that hat. That hat was just, you would think that it grew on him. I want to say hello to everyone. There's so many iconic individuals here to honor Mal. And I think that in his own way, he was like the Pied Piper. You know, not bringing people away, but bringing them all together. And even in his passing, he has brought us all together today. What a wonderful person Mal was and will always be in our hearts. In the virtual world, we meet so many people that are giving and caring. Some give a piece of their creativity, others teach us new skills or new ways of seeing the world, and others give us what years of experiences has taught them. All of these people and all of their gifts shape us into the people which we become in the virtual world. And then you meet one of those people whose gifts are so great, they're like polished stars, whose lessons come from vast volumes of experience, which grow and expand each time you meet them. Mal Burns was such a person. He had a mission here in OpenSim, one that he very humbly never claimed as his own, but it was. His mission was complete dedication and attention to detail in bringing out the beauty in all of us. He was the bridge of OpenSim, bridging the gaps between other worlds, different places, and amazing people, making us all visible in this vast landscape and making us all shine. Thirza is like this as well as a few others I've been so gifted to know. And thank you for that, Thirza. I appreciate all you've done for us. Today we do not mourn or grieve for our dear Mal Burns. Today we celebrate the blazing light and the shooting star and magnificent wonder that this man was. May the spirit of Mal's gifts to OpenSim always remain in our hearts and our spirits. And may the light that he shined on OpenSim guide us all to be bridges as well. Not competitors, not rivals, but bright lights shining on each other's greatness. Thank you all for being here to celebrate this amazing being, Mal Burns. Love and light to all of you. And I hand the microphone over to the lovely Forest Azure.
Thank you, Cataplexia.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Some years ago, I did some research about the difference between Second Life and OpenSim, and I interviewed people from both worlds. And Mal was one of the people I interviewed. So, what I would like to let you hear are his words, his voice, and he wanted to do it in voice because he didn't feel like typing a lot. But I said, well, if you do it in voice, I have to type a lot, so please type no. What he said was, I haven't done an interview in text since back when I could type properly. I can't build really, can't script, can't program, can't type. Just look, listen, learn, and lick the microphone. About his real life, he said, outward I spend most time doing news tweets and stuff, keeping abreast of everything virtual. Virtual me is an extension of real life me. Two sides of the same person coin, but certainly flipping between virtual and real life is a satisfying way to be able to live life. And possibly maybe an advantage when you actually get older too. And then he said something important. I am most scared about losing eyesight. That would be so awful, especially in virtual. Well, that didn't happen. About virtual worlds, he said, I have brought some real-life people in, and interface is not a problem for most. For many they freak out because of the large degree of immersion, and when they realize that a room full of avatars is also a room full of people. And like all online, there's no international boundaries. That's a big plus, though we haven't got people to stop flying in planes and petroleum cans on wheels yet. He didn't think much of Second Life. He said, Second Life is a bit of a boring high street full of silly and commerce, too much roleplay. Here people still feel more real and connected. Well, not all, of course, but I don't suffer fools easily and I can't do idle chit-chat like many. And when I asked him if he felt like he belonged to a community, he said, yeah, well, Thirza and James with the shows, etc. The Safari group, of course. But I guess I'm kind of a nomad, hard to sit or stand still, but sleep a lot to make up for it. Best part to retain youthfulness. People say I look 50, so it probably works. Those were my lines I got out of the interview. And the next one to say things is well, it's Mel's stuff. None of that is mine. It's Nyx Breen. I always say Nyx Breen. Yes.
About 15 people all telling me how to do this at once.
I hear you now.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I want to welcome everybody. I'm going to talk as long as I can before I disappear. Mal was a unique soul. He inspired things in me, and he made me laugh when I was with him. He wasn't at the mic. He was working on his camera setups and off everywhere, and it reminded me of being with Mr. Magoo. And then it would come showtime, and magically, and I got to hear the things behind the show. It all came together. Mel was fun. That's what this place should be all about, plain and simple. I've always been a proponent that it's meeting people here, which Mel was the personification of. He put a lot of us together in situations we never would have been together. It was through him. So if you believe that, you got to mix your martini or whatever drink it is, Mel was the swizzle. He turned everything and let everybody bump into each other and participate with each other in ways that we all like to do. 1, show off. 2, learn something different from other people. And 3, Mel was the ringmaster that if you were old enough, it used to be called the Ed Sullivan Show. Well, it was a virtual one. And he was a pioneer before Carson, before Jack Parr, in the virtual worlds, if you put them side by side. So I, for one, feel I'm a better person virtually, which has related to my real life, because I got to meet Mel, and I got to meet a lot of you people through Mel. So I thank him for that, and I raise my glass, as we all have virtually here, and a toast to one hell of a good guy, little bat crazy, but we always had a good time on his show. And we all bragged about, oh, I was on Mel's show. Remember that. Thank you. I am trying to. I hope you can hear me. Lavia Lavine.
I hear you, and thank you very much. And thank you all for showing up today for this tribute to such a wonderful man, Mal Burns. Some of the things I remember about Mal, besides the fact that he always mispronounced my name, which always gave us a laugh, it was also easily forgivable, was that he had a great eye for detail. He noticed the little things and genuinely appreciated the thought that one put into the development of their grids or regions. He was forever curious about what went through one's mind when creating a new region. I remember the first time that I was on Inworld review, how he established a rapport with me, asking preliminary questions about me and my grid before we went on air. After the show, and I was on several times, we would sit around and chat for anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour and then say, oh my, look at the time. but with Mal it was easy to converse and have great exchange of ideas. He was a person who was easy to like and talk to. Mal had an interest in OpenSim and everything it encompassed, especially the people and cultures it represents. He took the time to explore, take pictures and videos, ask pertinent questions, and listen. Above all, to listen, because he loved learning. Of all the people I have met in the world, Mal was probably one of the most curious and endearing. He had a unique sense of humor and a great sense of adventure. For Mal, every trip to a different grid or region was a new adventure, an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to see the world through the eyes of others, and he always seemed impressed by what he saw. Mal had a way of encouraging and upbuilding and fostering a spirit of fun wherever he went. I believe he was an inspiration to many people, and often his insights into scenes, buildings, regions, and even entire grids helped the rest of us see things with a new and positive perspective. Conversely, it seemed to me that Mal felt just as uplifted by the wonderful things he saw in OpenSim, built by so many talented and gifted builders, designers, and creators, and the potential for education in the virtual community never escaped him. I think it's safe to say that Mal was a positive influence in both the virtual world and in real life. He was truly loved by many as a good friend and someone who could be relied on. I only knew Mal for about 2.5 years, but in that time, it became easy to see him as a friend and someone who would be honest with you. In the last Inworld review show that I was on, Mal contacted me in Discord just about 15 minutes before the show was to start. He had visited one of my builds and wanted to talk about it. I was surprised and honored by his request, but that was Mal. He had a way of making one feel important and worthwhile because we, all of us, were important and worthwhile to him. So it is with all love and respect that I say one more time for Mal, I'm going to wish you all a very good morning, a very good afternoon, and a very good evening, or indeed a good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are. And I now turn it over to Yana Dakota.
Thank you, Lavia. There are voices in the metaverse that never fade. Mal Burns was one of them. I first crossed paths with Mal back in the days of Second Life when avatars were more than pixels. They were personas, stories, entire worlds, and he was already a force then, reporting alongside Thirza Dragoness on the Metaverse TV, giving shape and sound to the virtual frontier. I was April Manamico. I had an alt, Johanna Haystack, which is now Yana Dakota. In G.A. Gore, with the Ghost Outlaws, Thirza knew both sides of me, and together with Mal, they invited me into one of the most memorable interviews I've ever done. G.A. Gore, Gore Involved, versus By the Book Gore, a conversation that still lives on YouTube, echoing with Mal's thoughtful questions and that unmistakable voice of his. Years passed. I left SL, stepped back from VR, and moved from the Netherlands to the Canary Islands, where I still live. Real life took center stage, but the grid has a way of calling us back. When I joined OpenSim and found my rhythm in the alternate metaverse grid, I never expected to bump into Mal again, and yet there he was, familiar, sharp, generous, and humorous. Still broadcasting, still building, still believing in the power of virtual worlds to connect us. Mal wasn't just a broadcaster. He was a bridge between communities, between platforms, between people who might never have met otherwise. He gave space to voices that mattered, and he did it with integrity, with and a deep understanding of the metaverse soul. His TV work in OpenSim was more than content. It was culture. It was continuity. It was care. And then suddenly he was gone. No warning, no goodbye, just silence, where there used to be a signal. We were all without words. But today I find mine, because Mel deserved to be remembered, not just for what he did, but for how he made us feel seen, heard, connected. To Mel, thank you for the interviews, the broadcast, the banter, for being a lighthouse in the fog of virtual worlds. You were an asset to OpenSim, a legend in SL, and a friend to many. Your voice may be quiet now, but your impact resonates. Rest well, Mel. The grid remembers. May I introduce Petlove?
Okay. Hello, everybody. Can you hear?
You bet. You sound great.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we hear you.
Oh, figures. Can anybody hear me? Say yes or no.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I needed. I, too, spent a lot of time with Mal. I met him shortly after 2006, like the board says, and he was an inspiration from the very beginning. I got to know him well through lots of friends, and found his sense of humor and his outlook to be so original and fun and interesting, never a dull moment. I think one of my favorite things about Mal, though, was how much he enjoyed what he did. And in particular, what I'll never, ever forget is how much he loved being a cat. He had a cat avatar, and he was just tickled pink anytime he could wear it and be with people and be a cat. So, I mean, everything you've all said has been wonderful, and I can't top that, and all I can really do is just repeat more versions of it. But Mal really was a force of nature, and he won't be forgotten. And who knows who he's inspiring now in what strange universe, huh? I don't think he's going to quit. At any rate, thanks for listening, and I'd like to introduce Tosha now.
Some time ago, death came to me, and she was a young girl, clad in ripped shorts and a light shirt. "Don't fear," she giggled. "It is not as you think. Everything is light here, and the sun shines. It smells of lemongrass and honey. Sometimes I sit here," she shook the dust out of her hair, "on this ladder and listen to them. I like it when they laugh or sing, or even when they are angry and fight." She turned to me, giggled again, took my face into her hand, kissed my nose and disappeared. "I so much hope, Mal, that you have met the giggling girl." Ooh, I'm all moved now. I have to shut down the mic.
That was lovely. I agree. Thank you, Tosha. That was quite wonderful. Thank you, everybody. I think that's the last person that I had on our list today. And so I would say let's continue until we get set up for the performance by Wallem, and we all can continue in chat while we're getting that set up. And once again, I can't be appreciative enough of all the people that came here, the great community that Safari has put together, and just I really appreciate each and every one of you. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for being here. We have a great community in the Hypergrid Safari, and I appreciate each and every one of you that were here today that spoke or are participating in appreciation of Mal. And so I'll speak with Wallem, and we'll get the concert set up. But please continue in chat with your thoughts and recollections. Thanks again.